We start our journey in 1298, when Sir William Wallace first granted the lands of Dudhope to the Scrymgeour family. They were allies of Robert the Bruce and confirmed as banner-bearers during the early wars of Scottish independence. Dudhope Castle is a late medieval style structure that sits just south of the Dundee Law. It has a rich history of being a focal point of the community since the late 13th century, and it has been home to 4 families over the last 700 years. No drawings or plans of Dudhope Castle prior to 1799 exist, but it is thought the original structure looked similar to Broughty Ferry Castle, with its tower house and surrounding fortalice. This is how it would have looked by the 1500s. Sometime in the 1580s, the castle was renovated again for Sir James Scrymgeour and his wife Dame Magdalen Livingstone. This remodelling would keep the north wing tower house while building up the south wing to look much like it does today. On the death of John Scrymgeour in 1668, King Charles II passed over the rightful heirs and granted the titles to Charles Maitland. In 1684, however, Maitland would sell the lands after suffering from financial difficulty. The man who would then take over the castle was John Graham of Claverhouse, better known as Bonnie Dundee. This would only last the next 4 years, as John Graham made one final march from Dudhope Castle to Killiecrankie in 1689. The battle was won, but he died shortly after due to his injuries. In 1694, the king made a grant of Dudhope Castle, and so the lands were given to James Douglas. By the turn of the 18th century, the north wing tower house was removed and made to resemble the south wing. The roof from the new north wing to the south wing was reshaped to what it looks like today, and more windows were added to the east face. The Douglas family occupied the castle until 1790. When they left, the building and grounds were leased out to the Ordnance Office, who used the site as a military barracks for the next 95 years. In 1854, Dundee Town Council acquired a sublease on the grounds and opened the Dudhope Recreational Park. By 1890, the castle had been abandoned by the Ordnance Office for nearly 10 years, and the sublease by the Town Council had come to an end. The council were determined to keep the castle, and so, with the help of funds raised by private citizens, they managed to purchase the property for £31,700, roughly £4.3 million today. After the purchase of the castle and grounds, the inactive military officers' building was converted into Dundee's first museum in 1900. It was known as a Museum of Mechanics, Industries and Technique, and was also the home of the famous Boulton and Watt engine, which can now be found at the Verdant Works Museum in Dundee. By the 20th century, the building was taken over by the Ministry of Works and was used as a military barracks during World War I in 1914 and later during World War II in 1939. This was the last time the castle would see significant use. After the end of the war, the animal pens installed around the sides of the building remained, and it was repurposed into a small zoo containing monkeys and peacocks that would roam the garden area. The zoo was short-lived, however, due to the monkeys' tendency to bite children who would try to feed them. The castle came under threat of being demolished in 1958 due to its inactivity since the war. Thankfully, these plans were halted due to citizens pointing out the legality of this, as half the funds used to purchase the property came from the people of the city, hence the People's Castle. After the restoration of Dudhope Castle in 1988, the refurbished space was put to good use for the community. Much of the space was put to use as a hospital for children with hearing and speech disabilities, classes for teaching handicraft, as well as housing Abertay University's business school. By the 2000s up until 2021, Dundee City Council used the building as office space for their social work department. Dudhope Castle has served the community through the decades and will continue to do so as the headquarters of the Circle.